So we are so delighted that we have Brian here from Iowa, who claims this is very mild weather. And you're going to say a few words. You have been a drone campaigner, anti-killer drone campaigner for a while, worked with Kathy Kelly for many years. So please come and say a few words.
Yeah, well, I was at the first protest against drones in 2009 at Creech Air Force Base. And one of the things, I've been at many of the other bases around the country too, but one thing that makes Creech unique is that they train people there to fly the drones. And so if you're by the base, you'll see 5 or 6 drones in the air at any moment during most of the day, and you'll hear them over the night as you're camping in the desert. And they chose that place because it looks like the Hindu Kush Mountains. And so most of the bases you go to, the drones are abstractions. But this is great to have this here because you see something physical. But what's missing here, I was seeing on the description, is they don't have the decals and details. They don't have the Hellfire missiles either.
Yeah. You have to imagine those.
Right. And I'd like to speak a little bit about the situation that we're in now and why this campaign is here in New York is very important. The New York Times in the last few months have had some real exposés, things that are not really surprising to those who've been following it, but we've taken it out of WikiLeaks and The Intercept and places like that and put it in the New York Times. Yeah. This is because of the attack that killed the Ahmadi family. There are many other drone attacks, but because this didn't happen out in the outback in the mountains, but happened in the city of Kabul at the time when the world's attention was being paid to what was going on. And we're finding out that how typical this is. It fits what we know from Daniel Hale, whistleblower. 9 out of 10 people killed are not the intended target. And when you talk about that, be very careful to say 9 out of 10 are innocent, because Mr. Ahmadi, the father of this family, was the intended target. But he was somebody, not an ISIS-K terrorist, but he was somebody who worked for a California human rights organization called Nutrition and Education. Yeah. But he was the one, after hours of following, they targeted, and the other 9, it fits the mathematical, the profile exactly. One of the things that Stanley McChrystal, remember him, he was the head of the head of the U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan. Yeah. He was interviewed by Rolling Stone magazine, lost his job for it.
Right.
He said, for every innocent person killed in a drone strike, the United States creates 10 new enemies. So that one day, 100 enemies, new enemies to the United States, were created. And that's bad news if you're thinking the United States was there to bring peace and stability to the region. But it's not. It's good news. Back in February when President Biden threatened to cut aid to arms sales to Saudi Arabia, the CEO of Raytheon Technology reassured the investors, sent a message out saying, don't worry, peace is not going to break out anytime soon. Don't worry about Mr. Biden saying. They said that the area will continue to be a place of continued growth. So the head of Raytheon was not, he knew what was going on. He knew that this was not. I'd like to go back to most of these attacks have been in the we haven't heard about, but one that we did hear about back in 2015. You might remember there was drone attack in Pakistan that killed an American, Mr. Weinstein, and a Mr. Laporto, an Italian. These were contractors who'd been kidnapped by the Taliban and been held for a long time, and supposedly they were looking for them, but they hit this. What President Obama then could not put that one under the carpet, and he had a press conference. He said this operation was fully consistent with the guidelines under which we conduct counterterrorism efforts in the region. Based on hundreds of hours of surveillance, we believed this building, targeted and destroyed by drone-launched missiles, was an Al-Qaeda compound, but no civilians were present. Right, but then the next day, the White House the same day, the White House press secretary issued a release with this news: "We have concluded that Ahmed Farouk, an American who is an Al-Qaeda leader, was killed in the same operation that resulted in the deaths of Dr. Weinstein and Mr. Laporto. We've also concluded that Adam Gaddan, an American who had become a prominent member of Al-Qaeda, was killed in January, likely in a separate U.S. government counter-terrorism operation. While both Farouk and Gaddan were Al-Qaeda members, neither was specifically targeted, and we did not have information indicating their presence at these operations." So they were saying, as a constellation, yes, we killed an Italian citizen and a U.S. citizen who were hostages of Al-Qaeda, but in the same attack, we didn't know they were there, but in the same attack we killed an American citizen who was a member of Al-Qaeda, but we didn't know he was there. So like, it's not all bad. I mean, we
by accident.
by accident. So this is
enemy, but we didn't know the enemy.
We didn't know he was there, but we killed him anyway. And these are these are American citizens who were killed without trial, without charge. And we're seeing this when back in February when Biden said that the war in Yemen was going to end, U.S. support for the war in Yemen, right away that same day the State Department came out with the clarification saying this does not include any operations the United States has against Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In other words, the drone strikes, the special forces invasions have been going on since 2001. They've destabilized Yemen and set the stage for the horrors going on there. Will continue, will not stop. And again in August, when he announced that the war in Afghanistan, the longest war, was over, he said, but we will continue to fight terrorists over the horizon, no boots on the ground. And that makes the war will continue, and it's more intractable. It's more attractive to politicians. They don't have to deal with body bags. But the Raytheon stock is going to keep climbing, and that's been the purpose of this whole war. Has been to as Julian Assange said, it's a way to drain the coffers of the societies of Europe and of the United States, and to put that money, take that money out of civil society and put it into the military-industrial complex. And that's what it's about. And we have to be, we have the advantage of having this very stark symbol with no explanation of what this is hardly for the people coming by. But on warmer days when it's more crowded, it's good that people are going to be here and to be giving information.
Yeah, no, this is a good place. And today it's kind of cold, so we don't see all the people coming. But I wanted to ask you, it's not just the U.S. who has these drones, and if one way maybe we can communicate to people is, the whole adage, do unto others as you would have be done unto you. So you have to imagine what it must be like to have, let's say, around our skies, these drones, watching everything that we do, picking out who they want to eliminate, and they are so successful at being precise, they can eliminate somebody sitting next to you in a car or something like that. So what is your thought about the fact that these drones are not just yours, they're all around? Is that why we need prevent
Yeah.
everybody from having war.
Right. This is proliferating. The recent war between Azerbaijan and Armenia just last year, that was called, the military experts call it a game changer because of the way drones were used. Just a few days ago in Ethiopia, some 40 people were killed in drone strikes in Tigray. And these drones were made in China, but they were supplied to the Ethiopian army by the United Arab Emirates. And there are also Israeli drones in Ethiopia. In November, some members of Congress started legislation. They're calling it the Anti-Iranian Drone Act. And it's calling for more sanctions against Iran because of their drones. And if you read the text of it, and what the members of Congress who are supporting it say in support of it, they'll talk about how no one in the Middle East can live in peace while they're being assaulted by Iranian drones.
Israeli drones, damn it.
And what they've done is so small. And I've been on Iranian television to talk about this, and I want to be very, very careful. I do not endorse Iran having drones. I feel I have to say that sometimes. But it's such a small drop in the bucket. And a couple of years ago, there was the Houthis did launch a drone attack with Iranian drones, presumably, into Saudi Arabia, and they destroyed a major oil refinery that affected the world economy. No one was killed. No one was hurt. So they were able to do it. Somehow, yeah, but this is something that has to be. It has to be. We can't speak about Iranian drones or Chinese drones while Turkish drones, another NATO ally, are going around the world. It's something that has to stop. But just like with the nuclear arms race, it's all driven by the United States. It starts here. So it's great. We do, this campaign with the postcards is directed to the United Nations, to the Secretary-General of the United Nations. And that's a very, very important thing to do, to be talking to the nations around the world. We also have to be very much addressing our own, not only our own politicians, because they're not going to just get a lot of courage because they get some postcards and emails. They're going to have to really be pressured if they're going to make any changes.
We might be able to learn from the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, and that was a huge campaign. In order to ban killer drones, it's got to be a huge campaign.
And a huge campaign to do that, but it can't stop there, because we see with the ban on nuclear weapons, very important step. But we've been but this $1 trillion weapons modernization program going on right now is going unabated.
Right.
So even this ban, if we do get an international ban on killer drones, which I pray and hope and am working for, that will be really another great tool. Just like the prohibition on nuclear weapons is nothing if it's not a tool for us to use. Right. To go. We're not looking for just like the ban of a piece of paper. We're trying to get rid of the killer drones, trying to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Right. Well, thank you, Brian, so much. We're a little cold here,
yes.
And we're going to eventually go to a warm place, I think, and hang out with you. But before then,
Do we have a little music? We have the Raging Grannies here.
the Raging Grannies here?
Yeah, just a couple of pieces.